I've been obsessed with cinema for the majority of my life, watching film after film in search for the next story that will blow me away. The ideal scenario with a movie is that once it's over, it'll have a lasting effect on me, or it'll give me something heavy to think about. But I can truly tell when a film is great. There's this moment when it hits me that the film is over, and I realise this was the only time I'd be able to watch it for the first time. Now, the film I'm about to talk about today, I watched at a young age, and it didn't have an effect on me. But some things are just a lot sweeter the second time around. I found this evident lately on my second run-through of The Wire. The first time I watched The Wire, I enjoyed it, but the confusingly high amount of cast members and relationships eluded me. It was only upon the second watching, when I familiarised myself with the setting and story, that it allowed me to understand the intricacies and understand exactly what the hype was surrounding it. However, it wasn't a direct understanding that changed my perception and admiration of the film at hand, but instead it was something that came with nostalgia of my teen years. The reason I couldn't enjoy this upon my first viewing of the movie was simply because I hadn't experienced them yet. My love from Juno comes from its simplicities, not something you could critique, not the things you can review and declare make the film good or bad. It's Paulie Bleeker's addiction to Tic Tacs, it's the hamburger phones, the taco t-shirt Juno wears, it's the tactile details the movie uses to build a basis for its originality. It's the small quirks and how they echo reality, how they persist as do the ones that make our lives different to everyone else's. Juno is different because it gave time to the small things that allowed the film to feel real, the aspects that allowed it to feel distinct. Juno is distinct by its stripes, Juno is distinct by its soundtrack, Juno is distinct by the yellow running shorts and burgundy jumpers. Juno is distinct. The film depicts two teenagers on the outskirts of their childhood, dealing with a difficult situation while keeping the quirkiness you're allowed to have at that age. And it's this perfect balance of style and substance that allows me upon every viewing of this film, and there has been a lot of viewings of this film, to enjoy it as much as I did the second time. So this is the end of my poetic intro, and I present to you a love letter to Juno. Juno was released in the September of 2007 and could have easily been glossed over or mistaken for a simple teen comedy. Juno is a coming-of-age story, one of my personal favourite genres, seeming to produce enjoyable film after enjoyable film, and one easily adapted to be a product of its time. Stand By Me, Lady Bird, Dazed and Confused, and even films such as Superbad fall into this category. And it's evident this type of story is individual in the style and feeling it can portray. We look for people to relate to, and it's much more possible for this to be achieved by watching people who have went through the years we have already, or are going through at the moment. What allows these stories to become so lovable and endearing is when you pair these situations with likeable characters, quirky soundtracks, and that indie film feeling we so pretentiously enjoy. Christopher Orr of The Atlantic wrote of Juno. Juno, directed by Jason Reitman, is simply too good a movie to be watched on anything other than its own terms. Fierce without being cruel, sweet without being what does that word, how do you pronounce that? Fierce without being cruel, sweet without becoming saccharine, and never short of hilarious. It's not only the best comedy of the year, but one of the best films, period. It does make it a lot more easy to write a love letter to a movie when it already seems to have such a following, with plenty of people who have happily already done it for me. So I could go on continuously talking about the things people have said about Juno, or giving my own opinion on it as a whole, but I think I better start a rundown of the aspects and reasons why the film is such a home run. I'd like to warn you from this point on there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It came out in 2007, bro. Should have watched it by now. So, what is the movie Juno about? Well, at the basis of it all, it's a story of the 16-year-old Ellen Page who gets knocked up by a 16-year-old Michael Cera. Now, pregnancy isn't an untapped territory within the cinema sphere, but it's what Jason Reitman, the director, does with the situation that makes it so different. It's not the story of acceptance or the loving family scenario we are used to. Juno gives a lot more maturity to a not-so-mature cast. The decision to give the child up to a more prepared and wanting family is made by Juno, a 16-year-old girl. Her father, played lovingly by the big old legend J.K. Simmons, is understanding of the situation, and you don't get the big freak out that you'd expect from a movie about teenage pregnancy. It's the most unpatronising portrayal of teenagers I have ever witnessed. Not only does it attribute the maturity and ability to make decisions to them, it doesn't slot them into a select group or social status. It lets them be their whole own person with emotional depth and quirks, which seems to be some sort of out there, far out concept within the world of cinema. The film taps into an idea most media seems to neglect, and one that you have to come to terms with in your own time and maturity while growing up. That idea being that adults aren't always the ones in the right. Jason Bateman's character, the soon-to-be adoptive father, big spoiler here, this next 5 seconds is a big spoiler, just a warning, backs out last minute of the adoption, seemingly ruining the whole story that up to this point was turning out to go so smoothly. Not only is this one of the most heartbreaking moments in cinema, but it's a complete 180 on how we expect different ages to handle a situation. The payoff that comes after, however, couldn't be more sweet. Juno, after being upset about the pre-mentioned decision, comes back with a letter to hand to the adoptive mother, who is also heartbroken by Jason Bateman's dickhead move. She comes back with this letter and it says, "Vanessa, if you're still in, I'm still in. Juno." This is one of them moments. The ones you feel rise through your chest and lift your cheeks. It's one of them moments that makes you love cinema. One of the moments you make your friend watch a film to watch their reaction when it happens. So do yourself a favour and watch Juno. And if you've already watched it before, then do it again. I've been styannn, and this has been a love letter to Juno. Also, if you love Juno as much as I do, I'd take a minute to go and watch Up in the Air, Jason Reitman's follow-up film. It's completely different, but it's exactly the same. And by that I mean it's got its own individualistic style and characters of an obscure emotional depth you won't find anywhere else. You're alright. I know if you've been subscribed for a while, I haven't posted in a few months, and first I'll apologise, but there's been a good reason. As of recent months, I've been finishing my master's degree. But the good news is that, well, I've finished it. Yeah, I've got it. So while I'm working part-time and searching for jobs, I now have nothing else to focus on other than helping this channel grow. Thankfully, while I've been away, the channel has steadily been growing. So we're nearly at 10k now, something I couldn't have ever imagined when I first, created the channel. It's the best feeling ever to have a platform of which I can release my opinions and interests and, do what I say whatever I want. And you are a really good audience and you listen and you respond. So I'd like to thank you a lot, guys. I have a lot of new and exciting video ideas to make and I hope you can stick around for them. Lover and a full-time friend. The monkey on your back is the latest trend. I don't see what anyone can see in anyone else. But yes, you on the brain in the shadow of the train. Kiss you all starry-eyed, my shawty's leaning from side to side. I don't see what anyone can see in anyone else. But here is the church and here is the steeple. Sure are cute for two ugly people. I don't see what anyone can see in anyone else. But you.